So what was my scariest moment off-road? That's a pretty easy one, actually. There's only one time off-road where I've been legitimately afraid that I could die. And it was a couple of years ago. My buddy Drew and I did what we called the Colorado Adventure, where we left here in Maryland. I was in my Jeep, and we put his motorcycle, an enduro bike, on a trailer, hauled it out to Colorado, started out in Buena Vista, unloaded, and then we spent the next roughly a couple of weeks completely off-road in the Colorado mountains. And at one point we were going southbound on the Alpine Loop, and the Alpine Loop is a pretty famous scenic loop throughout the big Colorado mountains, like the mountains, right? It's where, you know, Ouray and Silverton and Ophir Pass and Engineer Pass and Cinnamon Pass and Hurricane Pass, all these big, huge passes, Black Bear passes out there, which a lot of people are familiar with, and Emogene. So all that area, right, is these huge mountains, and drops are measured in thousands of feet, right, off the ledge. Like, you're literally, like, you look over and you're looking at a major drop. And the roads are fairly narrow. I call them roads, right? They're just basically rock trails. And in some places they're so narrow that two vehicles can't pass. So if you come head on with somebody, it's this operation of who's gonna back out and who's gonna die not first. Anyway, so also at this time, I was leveraging this feature in my Jeep called Hill Descent Control. In the 2015 JKU, that one back there, it has a really cool feature that will, you push a button and it helps sort of control descent in downhill situations. And it's great for off-roading. I did a lot of research on it, trying to figure out how it does it. Always assumed maybe it used some braking, but was, you know, thinking maybe some transmission stuff or whatever. Anyway, never did really conclusively figure it out, but I can tell you absolutely, unequivocally, without a doubt, it uses your brakes. And the reason I know this is because I almost died in those Colorado mountains because of that stupid hill descent control. So my advice to you, first of all, is don't use that long term, because it will fade your brakes, because it uses the brakes constantly. So the story is, we were going and we were on a downslope side through these winding, horrible switchbacks. Like I said, huge drops, and switchback after switchback after switchback, all completely downhill. And I'm just using hill descent control just like I would do when I was off-roading, but I have been using it all day. And so what happened is we got to a sort of a tight right-hand turn, not quite a full like switchback, but at least a 90-degree turn. And I went to hit the brakes to slow, and I realized I had no brakes. Like, my pedal went to the floor. Complete and total brake fade failure. Yeah, so I'm on this mountainside. My buddy Drew's on a motorcycle all the way up ahead of me, and I'm sort of by myself and I can't stop. But what I did do is use the emergency brake. Thankfully it has those. Was able to get slowed down enough to where I could get sort of turned into an uphill direction, because there was, at the turn, sometimes it widens out, and in this case that was one of those areas, almost enough to sort of pull off to the side and let traffic through. And I used that to my advantage with my emergency brake and came to a stop. And you know, my heart was racing. I had sucked my BarTac seat covers up thanks to some major pucker factor, and that's when I learned that hill descent control does in fact use your brakes and will kill them if you leave it on and you're constantly needing them. So anyway, that's my scariest off-road moment. I learned a lot on that trip. One of these days, I've got footage of it. I'm gonna dig it up and I'll produce that into a video. I've been working on trying to get that video out of that adventure, but there it is on video, my conversation with Drew about the fact that I lost my brakes. And you can kind of tell there's a tension in the air as we're talking through this. And of course, he's on the bike far away. Anyway, that's it. That's my scariest off-road moment.